So we're going to talk about processing a loan application for a housing loan from the time the loan application is submitted by a borrower all the way till the loan is disbursed, repaid and documents given back after the loan has been cleared. So in this module, we are going to look at how an application form gets processed. Now before we get to that, let's try and understand what do we mean by the word process. In common parlance, process means a system, a discipline in which a particular event or a particular series of events happen. So from a loan application perspective, it is what happens when you apply for a loan as a borrower, or as a lender, what happens when you get a loan application from someone. What do you get? What do you do with that? Why do you do it? When, at what stage of the entire process do you do it? And therefore, you understand where the file is moving in a systematic, logical and efficient manner. So for example, and we are going to look at multiple processes. For example, the process of applying for a loan itself has to be defined. Then you move on to completing whatever KYC requirements and getting third-party documents like a credit report or a bank statement, etc. Once you have that, then you come to a critical component of the process, which is the credit appraisal part, the appraisal of the individual to determine can he get a loan, and if so, how much. You then have sub-processes, and I'm calling them sub-processes because they are part of the overall scheme of things, which is on the legal side and the technical side, doing the legal appraisal and the technical appraisal. You then, after submission of all the documents and the appraisal, you will move on to sanctioning the loan. There is a process involved with that, and then you collect all the documents and disburse the loan. Once the loan is disbursed, it's then that accounts comes into play, and also recoveries in case you are not paying your loan back on time or your customer is not paying you back on time. Now we are not going to discuss the policies here because that's a separate module altogether. What interest rate to charge, what documents to look at, all that is not part of this module. This module is purely about the process. When we were young, we used to write essays, the journey of a coin or the journey of a book. So we are now going to talk about the journey of an application form from the time it is submitted by the customer till the time the customer repays the loan and you return his papers. Now, before we start looking at each specific process, there are 3 or 4 things I think it is important that we understand. One, that technology has played a big role in the recent past, especially to completely change the way processes actually happen in a housing finance company or a bank that gives housing loans. And the second thing that we have to remember is that each organization will have its own processes. The concepts will be similar. The concepts will cover all aspects that we talked about, like sourcing, submission of form, credit appraisal, legal appraisal, technical appraisal, disbursement, so on and so forth, but it will change. You as a lender will also know what is the specific process in your company. If you change jobs, you will still know what processes are. You will still know what are the principles that guide this process, but a new company is new processes. The third thing to remember is that each stage of the process, there are documents that come in. Either the customer submits them or you generate them. And in each stage of this process, we will talk about those documents so that they link with the particular process. Now, having understood what the 3 generic points are, which are the guiding principles, I think there is one overriding principle which sits on top of all of this. And that is that it does not necessarily depend upon what type of customer. So whether the customer is employed or self-employed, if the applicant is a retired person or is a professional, those are policies that decide how to give a loan, what terms to give it at, how to determine eligibility. That will be covered in a separate module on policies. Here it's about a file and its journey from the time it enters your office as a lender or you as a borrower submit it till the time you repay your loan and take your documents back. Now, I have one request to make to all of you all. Whether you are a borrower who's planning to apply for a housing loan or you're working in a bank or an NBFC or an HFC. Right through this module and the other modules that you look at play a double role here. Sometimes wear the hat of the borrower, sometimes wear the hat of the lender, and always look at it from two perspectives. The process won't change, but it just is where are you looking at it from. Are you worried about where your file is in the entire sequence, or as a lender are you trying to ensure that you follow a process to most efficiently in the shortest possible time turn around the decision on the file and actually either say yes or no, make a disbursement or reject the loan.